Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again on DecipherYou, a journalistic initiative where we analyze never before scrutinized Snowden files. I'm Elizabeth Voss, editor-in-chief of Disobedient Media, and I'm here with the amazing Suzie Dawson, journalist, activist, and current leader of the Internet Party of New Zealand. And we're really glad to be back with you all after about a month's break. It's been a while, so I'm glad to see so many have joined us this evening too. I see a ton of people in chat, so that's great.
Hey, you guys, thank you so much for being here and for putting up with our late start. Hey, Fly, and Shelley, and Angel, and Barbara, independent outsider. Hey, sorry, I had the unpleasant discovery that with my new desk setup and my lighting setup, I actually can't type and use my laptop. So I've had to ditch the lighting and ditch the setup and just sit here like hunched over my laptop so that I can actually work and do the analysis on the stream. But hopefully you can still see me okay without the lighting. Okay, so we've had a big couple of weeks. I think you guys have been with us through most of it. Obviously, I released Being Julian Assange, my latest article, and we did a live Q&A event with Kim, which was a rip-roaring success.
Absolutely amazing. That was a really great time and a successful interview as well.
Oh yeah, it was super fun actually, and I was really pleased that Kim joined us and that it was so well received. The article itself has been huge. It's like 60,000 reads, I think, so far, not including the archives and the other places that it's been posted. And obviously I did a bunch of media as well. I have not updated my website. That's on my list to do this week, to actually like put links to all the interviews that I've done and everything. So I will get there soon. I've been having somewhat of a relaxed little break as well over the last few days, which has been pretty cool, and just getting to spend a bit of me time and a bit of family time. I think we've been off DecipherYou for like nearly a month now though, and I've really been missing it. And I know Elizabeth has been missing it too.
I was telling Suzie before we went live that I really missed it, and I was really glad that we were getting back into things this week, for sure.
So yeah, I'm very, very keen to continue and to go through the rest of the documents and whatnot. Oh, thank you for the people giving us nice messages about the streams and stuff.
Thank you.
Really cool. So we will aim to go back to our Tuesday and Friday DecipherYou streams. The Intercept released another batch of documents. That's the biggest news at the moment. So that gives us another couple of months worth of work to do.
Absolutely. So they're up to like batch 6 now, is that right? Or is it batch?
Is it 6 or 7? I think we had one more to go after this one.
I couldn't remember if this was the last batch that we had at the before they released the next one. Oh well, I'm bad with numbers, so.
I'm pretty sure David would be able to tell us.
I'm pretty sure Fly and David and a bunch of people would know, so.
Wow, my screen looks so awesome right now. Look at this view. I'm just going to tweet this because this is what my screen looks like right now, and it's just so freaking cool. Talk about hair and spirit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Suzie was saying that talking about the live stream Q&A we had with Kim.com, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, but somebody made a really fantastic shorter clip of one of the segments where Kim spoke, and if you haven't seen it, go look it up. Assange tweeted it. I think it's by Blackpilled on YouTube, and it's a really, really great segment, so I'm glad that they took the initiative to make that. And, you know, DecipherYou itself did feature in a lot of what Suzie spoke about with both Lee Camp and with Kim.com. You know, DecipherYou came up again and again. And so I'm really glad that we've been doing this, you know, leading up to Suzie's article, because, you know, it's really provided some good context and background to Suzie's general investigative work that she's done over the years.
People have been really interested in DecipherYou, like Lee really was, and quite a number of other people. I mean, I know Kim really supports it as well. But people are really starting to get the message that there's more in the Snowden files than just what has been reported on by the big media companies. and they're quite scintillated by the findings. Also, yes, I did a STEAM interview yesterday with the Minnow Support Project. Yeah, that's the guy who runs the server. That there's like 16,000 STEAM users on that server. And they were also extremely interested in DecipherYou and in our findings from the Snowden files. And they specifically said that they wanted to come along and do some memes of our findings to circulate. Yeah, which is something that had been on our wish list for like quite a while now. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
A lot of the findings would be very, very well translated into short visuals and memes. That would be, and charts. That would be great. Yeah, somebody says they like my drapes. Yeah, this is actually a curtain. And when we started DecipherYou, by the time we would stream, it was dead, in the middle of the night. And pretty soon it's going to be like, you'll see light coming through because it's still evening, daylight. But anyway. And like I told Suzie, I am really glad that DecipherYou is kicking back into gear again, because it's been a really good, continuous stream of work that really matters when we write about our findings. And Suzie and I both are going to be, I hope, writing about our, findings from batch 4 eventually, soonish. But
I'm sorry that when you share the YouTube link, it says that it's the live Q&A with Kim. It's just the Google cache for YouTube is not updated to the stream. Kind of annoying, but not much we can do about it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, let's go ahead and start working. So apparently we are on number 14, I think. Was it 14 or 15?
That's what Fly said. I believe he meant that the last document we did was 14, so we would be on to 15. But Fly, if you're hearing me and I'm wrong, just let me know. I'm retweeting Suzie real fast. Nice to see Hope and Angel. Yeah, I see a lot of people that I recognize. That's awesome. Good to see you all back again. I've missed seeing you all in chat and talking to you, so.
Okay. So I'll share screen and we'll get started.
Great.
Okay. SID leaders head to the UK for the bilat. We did that, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we got through the first 14. I think.
Okay, so up to 15.
And Fly can correct me if I'm wrong, and if so, we can just go back to it at the end or something.
Okay, do you want to read, Elizabeth?
Yeah, so we're starting out with this document titled Brown Bag Discussion with SIGDev, and I'm just changing my view of us because it hides some of the text. So discussion with SIGDev's technical director, and it's about the, it just says that advanced registration is required, see instructions. They talk about development strategy and governance, being pleased to announce that another brown bag discussion focused on SIGINT development topics of interest. We believe these sessions will be of interest to those who are working in SIGINT development or are interested in learning more about NSA's SIGINT development activities. They're talking about featuring Mr. Gregory.
Which is definitely us.
Yeah.
We're definitely interested.
Definitely. So SIGDev's technical director, Mr. Gregory Wessel, and he will be discussing the corporate emphasis and current status on initiatives such as single sign-on federated query, which is Global Vision. I believe we've talked about Global Vision a number of times in DecipherYou, talking about how Global Vision is a bigger part of the APATS, analysis and production analytical strategy, web services as an enabler, and TKB, which is target controlling and tasking.
Yeah, we have talked about all of this stuff previously.
Yeah, a lot of that.
And just for Shelley, because Shelley was asking, just to confirm, this is batch 5, like you'll see at the top here, Snowden Docs Release 5. So we did already have 6 to do after this. So I think that is 7 now that is out with Intercept, but I'll check it.
Oh, yeah, we can look that up.
No, September 2017. Sorry, it means that batch 6 is what must have just been released. So actually, yeah, we have like nearly 2 releases to go.
Interesting.
So it sounds like they're just updating their staff on things that we've already studied previously.
Yeah,
So
and it sounds like it's good though, because it's a sum up of what they think are the most important kind of themes of development at that point. So
yeah, that's a good point.
I think it literally just sums it up in a little list like that. So even if you didn't comment on it in an article, I think for us researching, it's a decent point. But
Sure. And so, I mean, if we want to recap that, then basically I would just say the single sign-on is kind of like, I think of it as like the NSA version of like OAuth. Like we have OAuth where you can use a single logon to like access a whole range of services. It's basically exactly the same thing in NSA, which is like open authentication when you use like your Facebook login to access a whole bunch of different websites or whatever, which I would recommend you never ever do for the
yeah,
record.
like with Gmail does the same thing. They connect all sorts of different accounts to your Gmail account, and as we all know, Google is kind of awful. So
I've just been told that we shouldn't be at 15, we should be at 50, 50. Yeah.
Did you actually get through that many?
Yeah, I think that's correct actually. I think it would have been 2 sessions that we got through to 50.
Okay, interesting. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Sure. And then the target template stuff we also had already covered, and web services we'd already covered anyway. Okay, so I will ditch these documents and start at 50.
Cool.
Thank you for that update, David. I appreciate that. An interview with Cindy Farkas. I don't remember this.
Me either.
Oh, hold the spam. Yeah, we definitely did hold the spam because that was, I'm tweeting about that. I don't remember this. 49. SIGINT curmudgeon. Yeah, okay, we did do that. Okay, that's a repost. I'm going to leave the repost out. 1,000 articles on SIDToday. We did that, right? Okay. Okay, intelligence analysts at SCS sites. I'll let you read through this one.
Okay, so it starts off with a question, and it's a Q&A taken from the SID mailbag. It starts off with a question, which is the paragraph is labeled top secret, and it says that DIR Graham 385 defined the special collection service as a model for expeditionary cryptology, which I wholeheartedly agree. As an IA intelligence analyst in the counterterrorism product line, I have seen SCS sites provide invaluable support on a broad number of issues. I've also seen a number of people from the IA development program forward deployed to sites and provide excellent TDY support to SCS. However, currently there are very few IAs actually PCS'd to sites. It would seem to make sense that IAs to PCS IAs in order to let the LA's language analysts and engineers do the jobs they are best at and allow IAs to bring their target development and reporting skills forward in the SIGINT system. How likely is such a change? So the answer, also top secret, and is the next paragraph. It says, thanks to the question, positive comments on both the SES and the successful deployment of individuals from the IA development program. After the past 2 years, SCS has recognized the value of IAs and their impact as SCS transitions from local support reporting to first instance reporting. So currently the SCS is actively recruiting a limited number of IAs for deployment overseas. We recognize their value to the enterprise, I hate that phrase, for their outstanding reporting and network analysis skills. In fact, SCS has recently PCS'd 4 IAs to Iraq, Pakistan, Egypt, and Austria, and their contributions have been tremendous. And then another, as I said, top secret paragraph saying a bit of history. SCS has recruited IAs in the past with additional skills in languages and collection. With the advent of our FIR's initiative, we look forward to working with SID to identify additional IA billets and resources to support this initiative. We will continue to staff our field sites with linguists, global network collectors, and global network analysts, as well as additional IAs in future. SCS has has always been able per DERNSA to swim further upstream to support customers' needs, and we look forward to including IA's PCS to field sites in our evolving mission realignment plans. Finally, in the unclassified, it says any IA interested in assignment should contact so-and-so at the blah, blah, blah redacted. We appreciate your question. So apologies for murdering those yeah.
Well, Darren NSA is director of the NSA, so it's just saying like per directive from the director. I think maybe it's better for people watching if we, rather than just say IA and SCS, if we actually say like intelligence analyst and special collection service, it makes a little bit more sense. Expeditionary cryptology just means where they're actually being sent out into the field to go and work somewhere, as opposed to sitting at one of the NSA, NSA headquarters or one of the main NSA sites. First instance reporting, we already studied previously, or this transition from local support reporting to first instance reporting. This is something that I don't think is really significant to us.
That makes sense.
That they've always been able to swim further upstream. We've talked about that previously as well. So I don't think there's anything new in here.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was murdering the acronyms really bad. I was tripping over them a lot. So I'll remember to just try and use the full word because that'll be easier for me as well.
Yeah, it's been a month, so I'll forgive you if you've forgotten a few.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so the next one is experiences of a SIGINTer in Baghdad. And I feel like this is a repost, or at least it's obviously very, very similar to a couple that we've seen previously, but it's
we've seen so many like stories from Baghdad, and I think it's because they're always trying to convince people to go there.
Exactly, and not be upset if they're deployed there. So, but yeah, the first small paragraph is unclassified. The next one is top secret, and they start out saying, "I've never been overly prone to writing about my experiences, but following Donna Rober's January 7th SIDToday article, I allowed myself to be persuaded to submit an article for SIDToday. You see, Donna took over my job in Baghdad as data acquisition lead at the end of my 4-month rotation, and within a month had gladly shared her experience with the larger NSA workforce, whereas I had not." And we transition into the top secret paragraphs, and we say, and he says, "Let me begin by saying that this is one of the most interesting and rewarding jobs I have ever had as an NSAer. The reward part was sometimes hard to see on a day-to-day basis, but in retrospect, it was certainly there. Most of the DA projects I was involved with had a 2 to 24 month timeline. Thus, it was hard to do much more than push each project a little further down the road. The things that you get to see through to completion, you probably had little input on at the start. And the things that you initiate, you don't get to see through to completion. The CSG and CST personnel in Iraq have the advantage of going home at the end of each shift, knowing that they made a difference in that day's fight. The DA teams from OTRES or other organizations can leave at the end of their deployment knowing that they found signals and field equipment that is making a difference. The reward from the DA lead position takes looking at it from the longer perspective." So yeah, then another top secret paragraph saying, "Looking at my experience in retrospect, I'm very gratified to have been part of what the NSA is doing in Iraq. Anyone who ever thinks of NSA as risk averse should get involved in what DA is pursuing in Iraq. Organizations from across DA includes CTG, LA, SSO, and TAO, and Suzie will probably have those acronyms explained later, are involved in a number of access projects that push the envelope in different ways. Being the DA lead in Baghdad provided the opportunity to be at the forefront of what is essentially an all-out effort to penetrate Iraqi networks using everything in the toolbox of the most sophisticated SIGINT agency in the world, working daily with personnel from across NSA to bring our technology to bear at the optimum access points, not only provided an excellent education in cutting-edge tools and techniques, but also an education in the power of enabling in a no-holds-barred fashion. It was an opportunity to see NSA people and organizations being very forward-leaning and aggressive." And then again, it's top secret, and it says being the field rep for a number of projects entailed deciding daily which priorities were most important and had to be on that day's to-do list and which could wait another day. It meant juggling not only priorities, but also juggling operational avenues and approaches to determine the best path for arranging access. This meant continually evaluating relative risks, which are physical, counterintelligence, and discovery risks, and gains of each approach. The great thing was that the Iraqi issue management team, IMT, and supporting DA officers seldom second-guessed me. They understood that risk management is best accomplished in the field and worked with the field to get the job done. Again, top secret, it says the position also entailed working daily with a wide spectrum of personnel, including Iraqi government personnel engaged in telecommunications and IT issues for Iraq, small and medium-sized Iraqi communications contractors, the CEOs and chief technical officers of major Iraqi telecommunications service providers, Iraqi cabinet level officials, State Department personnel at all levels, US military communications personnel from a 2-striper to a 2-star, and CIA personnel in the field. Every day in Baghdad, I started the day looking forward to what I had to do. By the end of the day, the to-do list for the next day would likely be even longer, with a number of things still left from the previous day, but that was okay. Every day was different and brought fresh challenges, fresh opportunities to consider, different ways to pursue the target. This is not to say that everything was rosy, for there were certainly many setbacks along the way. Some projects seemed to move backwards faster than they moved ahead, and some roadblocks did ultimately prove to be insurmountable. However, every day did provide the opportunity to see the SIGINT system being as aggressive as we have ever likely dared to be in pursuing the target. Would I do it again? You bet. So what do you think about that?
Okay, I think a number of things about that. So the first question I ask myself when I see all these top secret classifications is why? Why are they top secret? What is it that's in each paragraph that is top secret? So the fact that they went there was unclassified, and who it was that took over their job was unclassified, and the fact that they were in Baghdad was unclassified.
Yeah.
Because the first thing that I thought is maybe this is all top secret just because it relates to Iraq. But this wasn't top secret for relating to Iraq. So that pretty much throws out that theory. So then let's have a look. The first thing here that I noticed that really stood out for me was the sentence.
Yeah, and he kept saying, when he used the phrase aggressive as opposed to efficient or, successful or some other descriptor, I thought that was really interesting.
This no holds barred fashion, this to me, I mean, they're basically saying like the rule book is out the window, right?
Yeah.
They're saying like anything goes.
Yeah, and then the next line, as you highlighted, it says aggressive again. And in the last paragraph, I noticed that he said aggressive again. So,
and he also said that he was allowed to be the decision maker.
Yeah. Yeah, the second last line there, it has aggressive again.
Yeah.
SIGINT system being aggressive has
provide the opportunity.
Yeah. Those
as we've ever dared to be.
Yeah. Interesting.
The other thing that I found really interesting was where they talked about the complicity of Iraqi telcos.
Yeah, that's true.
It basically means that the telcos worked at the behest of the government is working with the NSA, and the NSA is working with the CIA. So there again, you have that marriage between the corporates and the government and the military.
We know so much of the Iraqi infrastructure was fired in the wake of the war, so it's interesting to see them.
As for this is special source operations, right? And this is target access operations, which is like the offensive hackers. These are the like supposedly like the super hackers. LA, something analysis, like this is escaping me at the moment. Someone in chat probably knows, and this is the Cryptologic something group.
Okay.
Off the top of my head. So why are these top secret? So if it's just because they're in Iraq, and we know that's not the case because of that paragraph. So what is it in here? What is it that is top secret, that makes it top secret? It was interesting and rewarding, hard to see on a day-to-day basis. The project they're involved in had a 2 to 24 month timeline. So that is probably the only sentence that I can see because it's specifically relating to projects. Possibly that is why.
Yeah, and one other thing that I noticed, and this doesn't have to have anything to do with why it's top secret, but I noticed that he kept basically saying that in addition to them being so aggressive, they it sounded like he never made any progress. I mean, he kind of tried to put a positive spin on it, but it definitely sounded like it was endless work that kind of didn't make much progress in it as time went on. So
I do not know what OTRAS is. We should make a note of that and try and look it up. Off the top of my head, I can't think of what that is. So perhaps that's something to do with it as well. But I would assume that the specific project timeframes, anything where there's actually details of a project, might be why that is top secret. Then
yeah.
let's look at the next one. Yeah, look at this. Being the DA lead in Baghdad provided the opportunity to be at the forefront of what is an all-out effort to penetrate Iraqi networks, using everything in the toolbox. So this ties in with the no holds barred.
Definitely.
So I actually do think this is really interesting. Because of the like aggressive, no holds barred. I think that's the most interesting factor. And then the that the Iraqi telcos were directly involved. That said, we need to double check the batch 5 intercept reporting because they really do tend to pretty consistently report on Iraq.
Okay.
Let's have a quick look at chat and see what people have got to say.
Awesome.
Bullshit, man. This shows that intelligence works with impunity, ramifications be damned, and they're happy about it. Yeah, well, that's very true. They're really happy when they have no oversight and really happy when they can just get along with, you know, whatever they want to do without anything stopping them.
Absolutely.
Angel says 23 minutes in and she got her YouTube notification that we were live.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
Okay, I'm going to make a note of that document really quick.
Okay, cool.
And then we'll move on to the next one.
Awesome. It's really awesome to see so many great people that have supported.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here.
Just all the people that have ever been supporters of DecipherYou or people that were really into your work. It's really good. So.
Okay, moving along.
Yeah, that's actually a really good thought, Frosty Buckets. Jamal Thomas is awesome. I had a really great conversation with him a few weeks ago, and I know that Lee Camp and Caitlin Johnstone have also had really good conversations with Jamal. So. And I'm glad that Lee Camp brought you here because he's great, and Suzie's interviewed him.
Cool.
So.
Lee's amazing. He's a really, really good guy. Like he's an amazing comedian, amazing like show host, but he's also a really good human being. Really good human being.
Really fantastic journalist. He always covers the hypocrisy of legacy press and just the elite in general. So.
Okay, that's a repost. I'm gonna skip the reposts. Okay, learning lessons from CSTs in Iraq.
Okay. The first few paragraphs are unclassified, and they wrote, I met recently with 5 analysts who just returned from serving in the first wave of Cryptologic support teams deployed in Iraq. Although I knew I was going into the meeting that they had done. I knew going into the meeting that they had done much to assist our tactical forces in the region. I wanted to hear what they had learned on the job and what the SIGINT system can learn as well. And it continues unclassified. They told me that they had gained an appreciation for what timely means at a tactical level and highlighted the need for quick responses. The CS tiers are Cryptologic support teams. I'm going to try and say that instead of CST. Cryptologic support teams also learned that it's what it's like to deal with the NSA from the looking outside in, and how best to make the right connections at NSA to answer questions and resolve problems. They also witnessed the importance of translating SIGINT for the tactical commanders to help them understand how SIGINT could serve as the basis for military operations. What can NSA and the SIGINT system learn from their experience? One lesson is that the agency needs clearer POCs as anchor points for responding to requests from tactical units. This means developing a structured way of providing assistance that will not hinge upon the field representative having the right personal contacts at the agency. We can also identify the optimal training requirements for the CS tiers, the cryptologic support teams, and deployers of all kinds, and the returnees are helping us do just that. I asked them to write a paper giving their observations, and I plan to provide that to the Army so that they can study it for lessons learned as well. And these cryptologic support teams also gave outstanding service to the NSA and to the customer. They each related to me that the tour made an indelible impression, yielding experiences that they'll never forget. I expressed my gratitude for their enormous contribution in helping leverage the 20,000 to 30,000 soldiers on the ground in each division as partners. And then we move to a secret paragraph that says in the past about 90% of tactical military operations in Iraq were based on HUMINT. Now the share attributable to SIGINT is much higher thanks to the efforts of SIGINTers deployed to the region, such as the cryptologic support teams, CSG elements working with the special forces, SIGINTers with MEF's 2nd Radio Battalion, and others. In the last 6 months, tactical units have captured, killed, or wounded tens of thousands of insurgent forces in Iraq. I think that's a really crazy number. And yeah, so and then it moves on to another unclassified paragraph saying, as the director has often noted, where we have people deployed, our SIGINT has meaning, otherwise our material is just in the inbox. The cryptologic support team participants, as well as all those who have volunteered for deployment forward, are helping the agency evolve into an expeditionary SIGINT force. I encourage all analysts to consider participating in deployments like this, where they can make a decisive contribution to our nation's efforts in Iraq. So Suzie, did that number jump out at you as crazy as well? The thousands of insurgents they
Yeah, I'm just going straight back to look at the date. So we're looking at September 2000. Oh no, sorry, February. We're on American date format. Yeah, February 2005. So we're still pre-surge, right? Like surge isn't like till 2007, the first surge. And that's 2007 is where things really go to shit in Iraq, like seriously go to shit. So that they already are killing and capturing what they call tens of thousands of insurgent forces. First of all, we know that they consider anybody of military age, I mean, even less, I think it's like age 13 or 14 or something ridiculous, isn't it? Until like 50 or 60.
Yeah.
They just can call them insurgent forces by default. So when they say captured, killed, or wounded tens of thousands, like it's pretty fair to say that a good chunk of that are just being rounded up in the house to house, and they just happen to fall in the age bracket. I don't for a second think that they have captured, killed, or wounded tens of thousands of like actual full-on insurgents. Like there's no way, like actual armed opposition. I mean, I don't even think there was that much armed opposition at this time in Iraq. Though we know Negroponte had just like hit the ground not long before. So this is heading into the time of the death squads, because it was after Negroponte became ambassador to Iraq, which we just covered in just a couple of sessions ago, his appointment. It was in the wake of him becoming ambassador that the Shiite death squads and whatnot started to show up. Negroponte was like the John Bolton of Iraq. Negroponte had been involved in a number of South American, Latin American countries that had also had death squads appear. It seems that where Negroponte goes, death squads soon arrive. And that was the rise in sectarian violence that eventually led to the surge, which then eventually led to even more sectarian violence and led to the emergence of ISIS. So when we're looking at these documents, we're still pre-ISIS and we're still pre-surge, but we're post-Negroponte's arrival in Iraq now.
Yes.
So Bremer is gone. Bremer and his golden Saddam Palace's office have gone, and Negroponte's there, and the death squads are going to start. Definitely. So it's quite a key moment in the history of the US engagement in Iraq.
Yeah, and I think that when the NSA takes direct responsibility for that many people, tens of thousands of people killed, I think that's a really good point to use in writing about the devastation that they've been responsible for. And also, I just want to point out that while we were speaking about this in chat, Fly mentioned that he couldn't find anything on Otras or Ostra. One second, I need to on Otras, and I couldn't either. So that may be something that is not publicized.
Did you search edwardsnowden.com?
I haven't yet, but a number of people, like a couple of people other than Fly and myself, have also searched for it. So I'm gonna look up.
Okay, yeah. Search edwardsnowden.com, guys. It's like your best source for document search.
If that's something that isn't publicized, it could be interesting to look into, I guess. But.
So the other thing here that was interesting is where they were talking about now that they're actually deploying NSA guys onto the ground in Iraq, a bigger share of these captures and kills is happening based on SIGINT rather than on human intelligence. There was another document that we studied that openly said that kill operations were being conducted on the basis of SIGINT alone, just on the SIGINT. And then we studied the specific programs, the specific targeting programs that were being used in Iraq. One of them, they were talking about wanting to deploy it globally. And you can find more information about that if you type in #DecipherYou on Twitter and then go to photos.
Okay.
And then scroll down.
I just looked
one. It's right here, but why stop there? Traffic thief.
Yeah, I remember that.
Critical link between SIGINT collection and ground operations in Iraq has helped enable the capture of several high priority counterterrorism targets, but why stop there? And then they talk about how they can roll it out around the world.
That's incredible.
And this is how military programs are used in capture kill operations can end up being domestic programs that are used against civilians.
Absolutely. And that's, yeah. But the Otras doesn't show up in edwardsnowden.com either at all, not even in the document that we looked at. Like no documents come up.
In that case, I would definitely make a note of that in our pirate pad.
I agree.
Okay, I've just made a note of that document.
It's actually, it's a Spanish word that means other. And so when I did look for it, all I could find were random Spanish language articles about the NSA. And then as soon as I clicked on them, they would translate. So I don't know if that has anything to do with why they use that acronym, but that's the only thing.
No, it's definitely an acronym. Definitely. Just not sure what yet. Okay, that's all right. Let's keep moving.
Awesome.
Oh, this is interesting. It's site stats for SIDToday hits.
Interesting. Okay.
So who reads SIDToday? 17,000 unique visitors in a single month. Now, bearing in mind that the NSA workforce was something like they had 14,000, was it? 14,000 or 15,000? The last count that we studied. I think about 7,000 or 8,000 of which were linguists.
Definitely. A very high percentage.
So for 17,000 to read it, that would be subcontractors and government and partner agencies as opposed to just NSA. Total visits, 100,000, 101,000. visits per SIDToday edition, 5,000 a day, and total views 280,559, which makes them like a fairly decent sized news service, actually.
Yeah, really. Yeah, and like a news service, they're gauging interest in certain topics and managing accordingly. So that's interesting.
Surging for the Iraqi elections. Now, this is already interesting just from the title.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't believe that the public knew that they were surging in February 2005.
Yeah.
So if they're internally using the word surge, in fact, I think we could actually go so far as to actually look it up. If we say surge Iraq, I'm pretty sure we're going to get 2000. Here we go, 2007.
2 years earlier. Wow. Very interesting. I think that's a point that would, I mean, just off the bat from the title, you would have to, when we do the findings, write that up, that they were speaking about that with that language 2 years before it was public. That's incredible.
Petraeus's counterinsurgency doctrine from 2007 to 2009. So that is already a massive finding.
Absolutely.
And all we needed was that.
Yeah.
Purely based on the headline and the date.
Yep.
2 years prior to public discussion of a surge strategy, the US military was already planning to surge in Iraq.
Incredible.
Okay, we better make sure that they're actually talking about deployments, but it does look very much like that is exactly what they're talking about.
And even the subheading description is secret there too. Where it says the NSA was widely praised for its support of the Iraqi elections, et cetera, et cetera. That's, categorized secret.
Oh, how do you read this with a straight face?
I know.
From 2007 to 2009, a surge of 20,000 troops under the generalship of David Petraeus saved a lost war.
Oh my God. Right.
In Iraq.
Well, see, I thought it was from what we read in the DA files. It was just fine. There was nothing wrong.
Look at this. Petraeus's counterinsurgency doctrine helped win over the population.
Wow. Wow.
Oh my God, what planet are they on? The surge was devastating to the population. Devastating. Oh my God, what is the date on this article?
They say, despite occasional violence.
2011.
Wow. This isn't from Fox News. It's from what, CBS?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay, this one is going to be a tweet.
Definitely. First day back at DecipherYou, we have a massive.
Yeah, this is massive.
Basically, hey, I mean, you could literally title an article on this specific finding, DecipherYou changes history, because now we know it's like a number of years earlier than it was publicly said to have been. So it's literally a change in history. or a change in the historical record, I should say. Yeah, Gordon sums it up really well. He says, that's the corporate media for you. Copy paste Pentagon releases and call it news. And the thing is, like, you know, typically you'd think that outlets like Fox News would be more pro-war, and then, you know, CBS or MSNBC or ABC or whatever would be a little bit less aggressive, but they're all just as bad.
Now, I've called this new discovery, but I don't know that this hasn't been written about in the Intercept, so it would be great if you guys could please look at the Intercept batch 5 reporting on Iraq and check if they already reported on the surge. Okay. Let's read through it now.
Okay.
I'll do this one.
Because you'll know where to stop.
NSA was widely praised for its support to the Iraqi elections. Widely praised by who? Held on January 30th, with all elements performing at the top of their game. Contributing to the success with some innovative procedures the agency put in place ahead of time. Here's how it came about. In the latter half of December, as it became clear the elections would indeed be held on schedule, the Iraq issue management team began planning for the big day. Sounds like a wedding. First, they considered lessons learned from previous events, such as the Afghan elections and NSA's support to Phantom Fury, the military operation in Fallujah, which was a massive fucking disaster.
Exactly.
Next, they enlisted an election coordinator, someone from the USMC, to spearhead preparations. That person was a great choice for this role, as he had recently returned from a 90-plus day tour at CSG Baghdad, where he gained an in-depth understanding of the customer's needs. He assembled an election support team composed of representatives from all concerned target officers, INSOC, customer relationships, which is the NSA team, etc. This team met almost daily to develop the support plan. Here's what was done. A crisis action cell staffed a 24/7 Iraq elections desk in INSOC. In addition to responding to queries and requests, the desk issued Iraq elections updates every 12 hours to a selected distribution. The existing summary desk in INSOC put out an Iraqi election SIGINT summary every 12 hours between 27th of January and 4th of February, surging on election day. So this is a SIGINT surge with a 4-hour summary in support of theatre customers. An Iraq elections webpage was established on NSANet and Interlink by web developers in INSOC and the Interlink office. Watch personnel at the Meade Operations Center, which usually doesn't have a dedicated Iraq mission, joined the effort by updating the web pages every 2 hours. The pages included all relevant SIGINT as well as customer information needs and even open source information. The pages received about 5,500 hits from people seeking information. The S2's MENA, Middle East and North African product line, put together a temporary desk to issue SIGINT assessment reports, much sought after by customers. Sanitized, e.g. secret level SIGINT reporting was transferred onto Cypranet for easy access by non-SCI cleared personnel in theatre. We're making creative use of the talents of the CAC and MOC watch personnel. The plan, and now I'm like breaking my own rule. If I want to go back up and see the CAC, where were they? Crisis Action Cell. The plan allowed subject matter experts to focus on producing intelligence, over 100 reports a day, and responding to specific queries. Customers had a variety of ways to get information. They could go directly to the right NSA point of contact with a question. They could check the Iraq elections webpage for information, or they could call the NSOC desk. This approach worked very well. One tactical customer in theatre described NSA's election support as great, adding NSA mobilized for the coverage and did a very good job. He especially praised product report summaries, the push-pull approach of getting information out, and the release of intelligence at the Iraq level. These procedures will likely be activated at least twice more this year for the November. Okay, so I think that my tweet I should have written after we read through the document, because the surge tactic, it was not the US military, it was in fact the NSA using the surge tactic.
Wow.
It is a SIGINT surge. So I'm going to delete that tweet and I'm going to modify it, because it's still valid, because what it tells us is that the surge language, the surge concept was not new. It was not unique to about US military surges until 2007. The NSA was already employing surge tactics in SIGINT 2 years earlier in 2005. So I just feel like we need to make that stipulation that it was a SIGINT surge and that it was by the NSA. So there we go. I have deleted the original tweet, made the amendment, and I will just give you guys the link to the revised tweet. So what that tells me, and I'm pretty sure that if we look into it that we'll find this, is that surge, the term surge probably has a historical context. They've probably used surges in previous wars, I'm sure. I wonder if we can find something. The surge in military history.
Also, Shelley has been looking up Otres, and all she could find was the entry on Wikipedia, you know, describing it as others in Spanish. So that's definitely, you know, coming up instead of any sort of NSA related topic. But we'll just have to keep looking and definitely make that a note to look up later.
Interesting. I was part of the Iraq War surge. It was a disaster in the nation.
Interesting. Yeah, that's incredible.
Very interesting that CBS says it won over the population. It was like such a success. And then this person's like, it was a disaster.
Yeah.
See, I find it, here we go. War strategies, offensive tactics, troop surge. I find it impossible to believe that David Petraeus was the first person who thought about packing a whole bunch of extra troops into a war zone.
Yeah.
That makes no sense whatsoever. Troop surge, deploying a large number of troops into theatre in order to overcome resistance.
Deploying a large number of troops into theater in order to...
Okay, let's keep going because I think that I got the feeling that we're stumbling onto more good stuff after this. See, yeah, I find this extremely significant and interesting that NSA was actually using that terminology. Okay, it's a repost. Okay, and we're back to Lonely Planet for NSA staff. If you want to go ahead, Elizabeth.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, so a very southern city, unclassified. It says a civilian who got in on the ground floor at GRSOC describes life in the Augusta area. It's unclassified. It says it has been said by some in our peculiar business that a shop sometimes becomes like its target. Given the growth both in the Augusta area and in the Fort Gordon Regional Security Operations Center, one could say that the station is mirroring its host area, Augusta, Georgia, and the surrounding area known to the locals as the Central Savannah River Area, or CSRA, has grown by leaps and bounds over the last 6 years. While the city of Augusta, Richmond County, touts itself as the second largest city in Georgia, it still has somewhat of a small town feeling, a great contrast to the crowded Baltimore-Washington corridor. Taking the correct route, it is still possible, even during rush hour, to go from one side of the city to the other in about half an hour. Augusta is a very southern city, set in a very southern area. It is not unusual to see a rebel jack or old Georgia state flag decorating a house or pickup truck. There are still some who are suspicious of those who come from the north, say Charlotte, North Carolina, but overall, Augusta's southern hospitality shows through in its friendly people and moderately paced lifestyle. And given the size of the area, one could not ask for a more family-friendly environment. So this is obviously one of those like Lonely Planet's guide to the NSA type posts.
Yeah, but you know what Augusta, Georgia is, right? I'm pretty sure this was Reality Winners posting, and it's the new NSA facility in Georgia.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's incredible. But yeah, so continuing on an unclassified paragraph again, it says Lake Thurmond, a large artificial lake created by the damming of the Savannah River north of Augusta, is only 20 to 30 minutes away from Fort Gordon, providing boating, fishing, and camping opportunities for those who need to get away from it all. For those who enjoy watching sports, Augusta has minor league baseball and hockey teams. Should you need major league entertainment, Atlanta is only 2 hours to the west, and Charlotte is 2.5 hours to the northeast. And while Augusta will never host a Super Bowl, it is the home to major competitions in barrel horse racing, cutting off one calf from a herd while on horseback, speedboat racing, and of course the Masters Golf Tournament. Augusta does have a symphony orchestra, theater groups both in the city and out at Fort Gordon, and numerous movie theaters and restaurants. One can find Mexican, Italian, German, Greek, Indian, and Chinese, of course, home-style Southern food without any trouble. And if you need to work off the meal, gyms and sports are there in the area. I've been taking up fencing during my stay here. Well, the last of the original missions phased in almost 6 years ago. GRSOC has changed with the changing Middle East and expanding to meet these challenges. Our targets have been in the thick of things since 9/11. Iraq and Afghanistan are worked here, which has meant a high ops tempo and sometimes long hours. However, the increased workload has meant higher visibility in the SIGINT community and an increased awareness of one's contribution to national security. Fort Gordon is by far the most military place I have ever worked. The main mission of the post is the training of members of the Army Signal Corps. Not having prior service, I had to get used to the ubiquitous drill sergeants marching formations of young troops from place to place, occasionally dropping one or two for push-ups if an infraction or etiquette of discipline was warranted. Because the GRSOC civilian contingent is currently relatively small in comparison to the military workforce, one learns quickly the culture of the various services. And then one secret paragraph says, at first, the fast-paced work combined with the slow southern lifestyle may seem like a strange mix. However, despite the growth of both the GRSOC and CSRA, there is still a feeling of small town and small site friendliness. My family and I have enjoyed our years at the CSRA, and we are looking forward to watching the area and the station grow. So what are your thoughts, Suzie?
My thoughts are simply that was Reality Winners Station, that she was doing Pashto, I think was her linguistics specialty, which ties in with the fact that Middle East was a target of this office. Other than that, I don't think there's very much interesting. I'm not particularly amazed by the fact that they have gymnasiums in a lake, or or a symphony orchestra. Okay, correction to surging for the Iraqi elections. Do you want to take us through this?
Sure. So correction to the surging for the Iraqi elections piece. It says the article stated that the reservists were used when in fact the NSA Crisis Action Cell cadre that staffed the 24/7 Iraqi elections desk in NSOC. Also, web developers in NSOC created the Iraqi elections website for NSA Net, while the Interlink officers created the Interlink version, and MOSI personnel were responsible for making updates to those websites. And the corrections have been made to the article text, and that looks like the end of the brief correction.
And that just looks like an internal struggle for who's taking the credit for the initiative.
Exactly. Definitely.
Okay, GCHQ's perspective on the annual bilat, which was in the UK. Go for it.
Okay. So, last month saw the annual bilateral meeting held between SID and GCHQ's Operations Directorate. Ian Lobban, GCHQ's Director of SIGINT Operations, said the following summary to the GCHQ workforce and has given us permission for us to share it with the Foreign Affairs Digest audience, reprinted here on SIDToday. And it looks like mostly unclassified until we get to the dot points, but it says, in mid-January, we had our annual bilat with the NSA SIGINT Directorate, led by Major General Dick Quirk. It was one of the best I can remember, so it is probably worth a few words. The bilat brings together the leads of each element of SIGINT operations. Over 2 days we covered, then it transitions into secret for a couple of points. It says the strategic missions we have faced, lots in common as you would expect. So we focus on areas of divergence. China, perhaps the most striking, where GCHQ devotes much less effort than NSA. This is something we are looking at given its strategic significance both now and in the future. Next point is the need for balance across the board with CT and SSMO obviously high priorities. If something goes seriously wrong with Russia or WMD, they have world-changing potential. Then we go back to unclassified, where it says opportunities as a result of the big idea, seeking to minimize the use and unintended effect of eyes-only classifications to mutual advantage. The continuing importance of working with human partners. When we get this right, the whole really is greater than the sum of the parts. Coherent planning and practice across all elements of the SIGINT system. This is actually a strong Five Eyes, not simply bilateral push. And then touch points between our own SIGMOD, which is SIGINT modernization, and NSA equivalents. Then we go back to secret, and it says the drive for effective geolocation capability, whatever personal comms our target may be using. So, and then the next point is unclassified. It says the need to produce more reporting in right to release form to allow more usability by our customers and allies. Then a final secret point, which says increasingly collaborative working across SIGINT and information assurance right across the Five Eyes community as we see more electronic attacks from both SIGINT and IA detection and against our national governmental systems. And then it finally, it goes to unclassified again. It says clearly all of the above was important, but I think the last item was the most rewarding discussion. Hugh Rees and Paul Chichester joined us from CESG, Britain's National Technical Authority on Information Assurance, as did Redacted from NSA's IAD, as we had a rich discussion about what we were seeing, the challenges it presents, and next steps. Aligning ourselves within the UK is hard enough. Magnify that by 5 across our wider community. So the actions we agreed were very focused on an international dimension where we already have had good working level progress. We must build on that urgently and have key milestones set for February, April, and July. And, another unclassified point, since I'm finishing this piece on a Five Eyes theme, looking ahead to February, I'll be visiting DSD and GCSB for a strategic view of SIGINT collaboration, while in April, we have a formal SIGINT Ops bilat with CSE. So our staff whether within or outside ops, should expect to hear a lot more about what we're up to, our key drivers, our challenges, our successes, and please ask questions, absorb messages, and help spread the word. And that's at the end of the document.
Okay, so that is pretty much just confirming what we already know. I think the standout points there were the coherent planning and practice across all elements of the SIGINT system, across the Five Eyes. So again, this is them, they're not just information sharing. They are actively working together at all levels.
Definitely.
Including planning. Right. And this drive for effective geolocation capability, this ties into whether the NSA literally said previously they want to be able to see anyone anywhere in the globe. They want to be able to track them anywhere on this earth. It was like total they wanted like total visibility. I can't remember the precise wording now, but they were very serious about wanting to be able to physically see, be it by satellite or by whatever other system, anywhere, anyone, anywhere on the globe. Okay, but I don't see anything really new there.
Yeah, I just had a Twitter user tag me, and they said that OTRAS stands for Operational Test Recovery Activation Signal. And so I'm excited to look into that later, but I just wanted to let you all know that might be a potential, explanation of the acronym.
Okay, let's just have a look back at the document. What?
Yeah, if you guys see me wipe my eyes, I'm not crying. I'm just having like really watery eyes all of a sudden. It must be like spring allergies or something.
Okay, the analyst from OTRAS. So one more time, what was that? Sorry.
Yeah, it was. I will throw the link to this tweet in chat, but it was OTRAS stands for Operational Test Recovery Activation Signal.
Okay. Well, let's keep moving.
Awesome.
There's something else about the election day.
So Shelley found that and she got it in WikiLeaks. So thank you very much, Shelley.
Oh, now see, that's exactly where we should be searching. edwardsnowden.com and wikileaks.org.
Yeah, I didn't keep up with chat well enough. I'm sure she posted it there too. So thank you so much. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate when people in chat help us research. That is like the pinnacle of what I think is so awesome about this initiative, is that we're, collaborating with you guys. It's not just you watching us, you're actually helping us research too. So that's fantastic. Thank you, Shelley. But so what?
The surging rats. This is Harold. I've actually, Maya, I've got the Chelsea Manning interview open on one of my other browsers. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I just retweeted your tweet of it, but I haven't seen it either. But that sounds amazing.
Yeah, you guys are super cool doing this. Thank you so much. Very, very, very cool. 50 people watching. Wow, my God.
50 this entire time.
Amazing. Really amazing. Okay, let's keep moving.
Awesome.
Lost in the Open. I'll read this one and then I'm going to go and grab a drink because my throat's getting really dry too from the central heating. Okay, need to hide your NSA affiliation while making a call. Let your fingers do the walking without fingerprints. Interesting. NSA is known throughout the world. They know where we work, the addresses of our buildings, and even our telephone numbers. So how do we get lost in the open and perform missions using non-secure communications? Interesting. So they're talking about how to go dark. It's basically OPSEC tips from NSA. Background: NSA owns a large non-secure telephone central office, or CO. Interesting. The CO provides dial tone and features to your non-secure telephone. It owns 40,000 telephone numbers. Many are very well known. 301 to 688 is probably the most famous NSA area office code set, but we also have a bunch of others. These area office code sets are also becoming famous. Making customer, vendor, and limited personal calls from those NSA lines is not a problem, provided the calls are unclassified and you're not trying to hide that you're calling from NSA. So what do you do, though, if you have a mission requirement to hide or at least limit NSA affiliation or to call overseas? Wow, I can hear feedback in my headset. That's really strange.
Interesting.
Special operational support can help establish anonymity or cover telephones and assist getting international direct distance dialing access. Can't decide which mechanism you need? Here are some guidelines to follow. So I'm a little confused here because initially it sounded like, no, okay, so when you're making a call from NSA, it's actually not when you're deployed.
Okay, interesting.
Right, okay, that gives it better context. Anonymity telephones limit access to NSA affiliation. Anonymity telephone lines are physically delivered to NSA from a vendor without using the NSA CO. They have telephone numbers that are not openly affiliated. Caller ID for anonymity telephones typically shows the telephone number and either DoD or nothing at all for the name. Bills are usually sent to boxes owned by DoD. Only examination of vendor billing records will disclose any affiliation with a physical NSA location. They are only to be used for official government business coordinated with our department. Cover telephones hide NSA affiliation. They are more complex. The telephone numbers are procured from various vendors using alias names and post office addresses. Caller ID reflects telephone number and alias name. Although cover telephones utilize the NSA CO, they have no physical delivery address from a vendor, and there is no open association with NSA. Due to the sensitive nature of cover telephones, it is imperative that it is safeguarded to ensure access is limited to the personnel performing official government business or functions associated with the cover support plan. IDDD policy states that NSA affiliates may use only cryptographically secure communication systems when making calls to overseas locations. That includes faxes. Anonymity and cover telephones do not fall under this policy for various reasons. This section is working with security, the Groundbreaker PMO, and Eagle Alliance to streamline the process for obtaining IDDD access for standard NSA telephones. For those that have an operational or administrative need to call overseas and NSA affiliation is not adversely affected, permission may be granted. They provide training on the proper use of anonymity and cover telephone lines. We will uniquely identify those telephones with a sticker similar to what is now present on the handset if you need assistance or have blah, 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 blah. Now I'm just thinking to myself, like, in what instances would they be making a call and want to that call to not show as being from NSA? I assume if they're communicating with people who don't know that they work at NSA, which would, I mean, it says for official government business, right?
Yeah. A number of people in chat are pointing out that obviously Hillary Clinton did not read this, which goes
Well,
without saying.
If she did, she wouldn't have known what the C means.
Yeah, exactly. So going on that, she would have missed out on a lot of the meaning of this article. So.
Okay, moving on. NSA's interns come learn firsthand of their involvement in agency missions. Valentine's Day 2005.
Nice.
Okay, it's really just a list of programs that they're promoting to their... What is voice sale? I have not seen this before. Geospatial, which is like their mapping department. Remember there was that whole separate agency actually for that. Exploitation of voice sale handsets. I'd like, guys in chat, I'd like to know what voice sale handsets are. Targeting satellite communications, we know about. Wireless network security, we covered. Iraq survey group, we've covered. Attack sensing and warning and defensive information operations. This is a very rare reference to legitimate defensive SIGINT.
Yeah,
We've probably only had 2 references in all of the hundreds and hundreds of documents we've studied to defensive. So that's quite interesting, actually, that there is in fact this program in existence. GPS jamming in Iraq improvised TSCM detection, graph partitioning using spectral methods. Yeah, I'd really like to know what are voice cell handsets. If you could check edwardsnowden.com, wikileaks.org, that would be really, really cool. Okay, I'm making note of that document. Okay, and we'll keep going. Social network analysis. From the Target Analysis Center, Social Network Analysis Work Center, we've covered both the Target Analysis Center and the Social Network Analysis Work Center previously. They're very interesting, actually, these guys. Very interesting.
Definitely. How the target personalities are connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when they're mapping your social network, they're not just mapping like your Twitter or your Facebook, but they're mapping your entire life, every relationship that you have in any context, whether it's a personal relationship or a business relationship or anything else. They literally seek to map every single communication that you have with anyone for any reason, by any method, at any time, and then of course who those people then have contact with.
They're trying to automate it and standardize it.
Yes.
Illustrates from recent analytic successes, update on progress on developing a simulator, our advanced technology demonstration tool.
Yeah, we already discussed the automation. We've already discussed what this is, so this isn't really new. Interrogation data available in Pathfinder. Iraq interrogation reports are now available. I'll let you read through this one, Elizabeth.
Awesome. So it looks like it's mostly secret from here, and it says, do you need the ability to quickly search Iraq interrogation reporting for personalities, aliases, or cover terms used by anti-coalition forces? Do the 76 cover terms used for internet communication by Ibram Abdul Karim Telekoy, aka Omar Baziani, plus his 5 other alias names interest you? Did you know that one source recently reported his methods for staying in contact via cell phones during the strikes on US forces? Do you need the false names used by Al Qaeda leadership or the Mujahideen chief in Samoa's mobile phone number? If this data is vital to in your SIGINT development activities, then you need to request access to the newly established Pathfinder dataset, TIR's IQ, which is Tactical Interrogation Reports in Iraq. Currently, there are over 7,000 reports in this dataset from May 2004 to present, and more added weekly from the SIGINT development leads developer in Baghdad. To establish a Pathfinder account, please follow instructions at redacted. But I think that's kind of interesting. But
so we're still in February 2005, right? Yeah, midway through. And they say May. So in 9 months, they have collected 7,000 interrogation reports. They said in 6 months, they have killed or captured tens of thousands.
And that's where we get that 500,000 or 1 million people dead number eventually when you extend that out to a longer time period, for sure.
Right. So if this is over 9 months' work and they had tens of thousands in 6 months, then in theory that gives you some ballpark figure of what number were not interrogated. So over a 6-month period, if you cut that down by a third, you're looking at, like 4,800 or whatever interrogations from tens of thousands of captured or killed. Now you would assume that everybody that is captured would be interrogated.
Yeah.
I mean, or else why capture? Surely they wouldn't be capturing people and not interrogating them. So it's difficult. It's a leap of judgment here because we don't know, are they filing reports for every single interrogation? Are reports for every interrogation making it into this data set? You would assume so, but who knows what falls through the cracks. Maybe they have a certain threshold of, maybe it has to have a selector, maybe it has to include relevant information in order to make it into this data set. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I still find it interesting as a ballpark figure.
Definitely.
How are we going in chat?
Very lively, as usual.
People affiliated with WikiLeaks have been targeted now. T. Scott, people affiliated with WikiLeaks have been targeted for the last 8 years.
Yeah, very much. Very much so. And, one of those has definitely been Trevor, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I know some people have written about that topic, but if you're interested, I've written an article on people who support WikiLeaks being defamed specifically. So I'm going to throw that into chat in case you're interested, and then I guess we'll just move on. But
okay, which web browsers are available in the Signals Intelligence Directorate? Netscape, Nutscrape, Explorer, or Mozilla? The most current desktop software loads for both Solaris and Windows Workstation come equipped with Netscape. We've covered this before in IE 5.5. How ancient. In addition to having Nutscrape on your workstation by default, there are several web browsers currently available for post-load installation on both platforms via Remedy Ticket. Okay, it's boring. We've covered that stuff previously. Here we go. 30th of January, Iraq election day. Do you want to read us through this from the NSA CSS representative, Iraq, US mission, Baghdad?
absolutely. So we start out with a note that's secret, or a paragraph that's labeled secret, and it says, on the 30th of January, Iraqi citizens were able to vote in the first free elections in half a century. Obviously, many of you followed the preparations for elections via the various news broadcasts or online. You couldn't escape it, as more than 2,000 media personnel came to Iraq for the historic event. What you may not know is that it was what it took to get to the point of elections and how SIGINT played a role. And unclassified, it says the Independent Election Commission of Iraq, IECI, is an independent body of commissioners designed by the UN electoral advisors to develop policies, procedures, and oversee elections. The Independent Election Commission worked closely with the Iraqi interim government and multinational forces to ensure safe and secure processes. The MNFI was responsible for developing plans to enable the Iraqi security forces to protect the election process and personnel. To do so, they had to harden and secure 5,200 100 polling centers with more than 28,000 polling stations within. They also had to harden and secure each and every government election office, district election office, and the various public distribution system warehouses, which were storage locations for all the materials. In general, the Iraqi police forces secured the polling centers with additional army and National Guard forces at outer cordons. MNFI held in ready reserve specific military units to quickly react to any escalating violence. Then another secret paragraph that says, to ensure voter safety, MNFI recommended to the IIG several security measures for adoption. The IIG implemented vehicle restrictions and banned vehicle use near polling centers. The IIG also closed the Baghdad International Airport from the 29th to 30th of January, and a curfew was put into place. The airport was not closed due to security threats. Closure allowed MNFI and Iraqi security forces to redeploy to assist in election security. Border security was also increased as the borders were closed to movement. Movement between provinces was restricted as well. Note, you might not understand the significance of closing the airport or the borders, but with travel restrictions, supply routes are affected. And here at the embassy for over a week, we did not see lettuce or fresh fruit. And then unclassified Iraqis from Abu Ghraib were walking towards polling centers. Obviously, that was a subtitle to a picture. And then it goes on, which all of these paragraphs are labeled secret, and it says, while safety and security of the polling centers and processes were critical, the logistics of providing election materials to each and every polling center around the country was just as critical. More than 36 wide-body cargo jets carried ballot materials from manufacturers in North America and China into Iraq. Each of these jets carried materials into Baghdad International Airport, from which more than 197 C-130 flights carried the materials to regional airports. More than 3 million kilograms of ballot materials made their way across Iraq to polling stations. And then again, it's secret. It says every morning during General Casey's battle update, election activities and trends throughout the multinational divisions were briefed. While a very small number of problems occurred on election day, as a few polling centers ran out of ballots or did not receive them in time, a ready reserve pushed the materials where needed. There were a few controversies where polling centers could not open due to security concerns, but the IECI, MNFI, and ISF worked hard to provide a resolution throughout the day. Election day signaled the infant steps of a democracy as we know it in the US, as candidates and political parties allege improprieties and put forth formal challenges to the process. And that's a really good point to bring up, the fact that, you know, the democracy we're bringing to this area is, you know, if it's as flawed as that in the US, then they don't have much hope. So, Suzie, what do you think of this?
I'm so jaded about so-called Western democracy.
Yeah, I know.
I
Cough Bernie Sanders.
I could just rant about it for hours, but I do on a regular basis, so I'm going to save it for now. It's just a giant puppet show, and
really,
you know, they can ship as many million kilograms of ballot papers as they like. If they have stacked the decks in terms of who are the so-called choices to choose from, then it's not democracy at all.
exactly. And the democracy we do have in the US is totally screwed. So,
okay, I'm just going to go and grab a drink because I'm seriously parched. But if you want to catch up with chat, that would be awesome. You're welcome to share screen if you want to, and I'll be back in like 2 minutes.
okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm just going to catch up on chat for a bit and speak to you guys, but scrolling up to see what you all have said. Yeah, and Dawson was saying that they feel bad they can't contribute as well. But the thing is, like, I'm learning a lot. Susie's more knowledgeable than I am by a massive distance, but she's still learning too, and she always feels like she learns from these streams. And then you know, all of you, I hope, are learning stuff as well. So there's absolutely no judgment on how much, you know, background you have or whatever in this subject. The whole point is to, you know, bring up these documents and look through them and have us all learn and to see, you know, new findings that have never been really pointed to before in legacy media. So just scrolling up some more. Yeah, and pointing out that they got the Otras definition from the WikiLeaks military dictionary. That was really helpful. Thank you. So at this point, I want to ask you all if you guys have any questions that you have from what we've looked at, or comments, or things that you found as we were reading these documents to you all that you'd like to point out. Yeah, Totalitarian TV, that's a great name. Yeah, and Hope's point about not having democracy in the US is really correct. And, you know, that's one of the major reasons that I'm participating in independent media at all is my own personal outrage at seeing Bernie Sanders cheated in the Democratic primary in 2016. That was a major turning point for me in getting into independent media, because during that race and afterwards, when the media was telling us all that Hillary Clinton had a 93% chance of winning against Trump and all of that, it was very blatantly obvious as to how much the media was lying to everyone. And that's what made me feel like, you know, if they are going to be selling us lies constantly to that extent, then it was important for people to stand up and just provide a counter narrative, a counter voice for, you know, what is actually happening, and, you know, document that, because the legacy media was completely actually lying. Like, they were completely misrepresenting everything during that election cycle. So yeah, so it's important to, as independent media, critique those narratives and provide the actual evidence that shows that they're lying as well when you can. But yeah, and Frosty Buckets brings up the danger of us getting into like a World War III type conflict in the near future. And I think that the best author on that, and the best independent media voice on that particular subject, is by far Caitlin Johnstone. She's done a fantastic job, you know, writing, talking about the danger of World War III. And I think in her writing, she said that we're about, like, you know, one false flag away from World War III. So that would be a definite author for you to look up and get into, if assuming that you haven't already. And yeah, so are there any questions you guys have about the documents that we've looked at, or just DecipherYou in general, or anything? Yeah, okay, so Bullshit Man, I love that name, brought up the idea of interim videos. So, like, key revelations that we found so far. Actually, we have got smaller clips that are taken from these massive, you know, streams that are a couple hours long. Fly has been good enough, and Crockatoo and a number of other supporters have been wonderful enough to go through these streams afterwards and cut individual topics from the overall stream. So you can find that on Fly's channel. And I hope that, and I also, this, a really good place to look that up actually is the Reddit sub for DecipherYou, which I made a couple months ago. And that, because it has the links to the streams, but it also has the links to as many as I could fit, or as many as I could post there. It has links to all of the individual topic videos that Fly made. And so you'll be able to get to his YouTube channel that way. So I'm going to link that here. And it's a really great place to, like, keep up with the smaller videos that you mentioned, for sure. And yeah, because I found, like, when I'm writing the findings that we have made in DecipherYou, it's really handy to have those individual topic videos and topic threads in the Reddit for me to go reference. So Suzie, I don't know if you're back and want to jump in.
Yeah, I am back. I was just about to type in chat.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Bullshit Man is offering to maybe put together a compilation of some of our findings. That would be amazing. If you'd like to do that and are willing to do that, we'd really appreciate it. Oh yeah, thank you, Shining Star, on the Sarkozy indictment article. I care a lot about that subject. And I care a lot about Sarkozy's corruption being revealed, because I think that he's been involved in some really awful things, including Libya, and including, you know, some human trafficking issues that are really bad. So with all that said, I'm really happy that I got to write that article. I'm so glad that he was indicted. That's really good news in my book. you, RSFO. I don't know which article you read 3 times, but I appreciate that. And I hope it wasn't because it was hard to understand. And I've, you know, since Suzie published her article on Julian Assange, I've been a little bit slower in my output of articles. I'm going to try and pick up on that in the next few weeks. Yeah, thank you, Kathy B, for listening to the article. Yeah, and I still get questions from people about what I'm trying to do with when I read the articles, and they don't seem to understand that I'm trying to make those articles available for people in an audio video format. So anyway.
Excuse me, I'm just drinking water like it's going out of fashion.
No, it's fine. And Crockett said Sarkozy is going to start an avalanche of other breakthroughs, and that's what I'm really hoping. I hope that shows, literally, the Clinton, you know, political cabal is not as strong as it used to be, and I'm hoping that means that she's vulnerable and that, you know, a lot of other, as you said, breakthroughs are on the horizon. I hope.
Okay, I'll just jump in and just kind of re-answer a few things. First of all, Elizabeth, thank you for pointing out that I'm a total novice at this too, because people have
you're not a novice, but we're all learning. Is the thing.
I really am. People have a tendency to think that I'm some kind of amazing expert. My experience is as being a target of the agencies myself. So when we're studying what the Target Analysis Center does, what the Social Network Center does, these are things that have been personally done to me. So I have seen the effects of them in my own life as an activist and as a journalist. So it's been extremely helpful for me to study these documents and begin to understand what was done to me, how it was done to me, who it was done to me by, what processes they used, what information they were collecting about me from their side, from the NSA side of it, rather than just me seeing the net effects and not ever really knowing. I mean, there was a time when I literally thought that because I was a target, that meant that one analyst was assigned to me and that one analyst just delved through my life. I had no idea that there was these massive like teams all integrated and working together poring over my life. So rather than one analyst looking into my life, it turns out that dozens, if not hundreds of them were actually touching various parts, I hate using that word, but it's what they were doing, various parts of my life for years and still do to this day, I'm sure. I see that, I mean, I have learned a lot from now studying 1,000 documents or whatever, and having written more generally about Snowden releases and other related whistleblowing for the last however many years. But your average like intern at the NSA and any of these programs would know more than I know, like guaranteed. Anyone who works on the inside of those agencies would know way more than I know. And I think that at various times in the series, we've had curious ex or current employees of those agencies come and give some insight into various things. And I think that those people that show up anonymously or otherwise in chat and give their 2 cents probably know much more than me as well. So when I'm saying what I think, I'm saying it either from a target perspective or from a journalistic perspective of having studied the documents. But I don't have a military background. I've never been trained in any of this stuff. So I'm just putting 2 and 2 together from the resources that are available. So I know more than the average person on the street who hasn't read 1,000 documents and isn't a journalist, but I don't know anywhere near as much as someone who's actually on the inside of these organizations. So I'm very aware of what I don't know. I'm very, very conscious of what I don't know. Just to give you some background, when I talk about me being a target, we know at least 88 New Zealand citizens were referred to the NSA by the GCSB, which is the New Zealand's NSA, in the period, I think, 2005 through to 2012. Our spy agencies in New Zealand have refused to confirm or deny whether I'm one of those 88. I've been fighting to try to get some justice on that front for the past few years and will continue to do so in the coming few years. However, there is a number of indicators that yes, I'm in fact one of those 88. So when I talk about having been targeted, this is rooted in fact. It's not some conspiracy theory. It's something that actually has happened to me and a number of people who are associated with people like Kim.com, for example, and others. So that's my position that I'm coming from there, my experience. Somebody said, has this happened to normal citizens? all of the NSA Dragnet surveillance is taking in the data of every single human being that they possibly can, certainly in all of the English-speaking countries, all the European countries, and any country that they can access the networks of one way or another. I often try to explain to people that, you know, we know that if people use encryption that they are targeted. We know that if they use Tor or anonymity solutions that they are targeted. We know now if they use Bitcoin, they were targeted. But the thing is, if you don't use any of those things, you're targeted by default in the dragnet. So you can't get away from it. Everybody is a target. Everyone is a target. That doesn't mean that they have referred you to the target analysis center and they have dozens of people pouring through your life, but they can if they want to. If they ever decide at some point in your life that they are interested in you and they do want to do that to you, then they can, because that massive data repository in Utah has everybody's data, all of it. All the data of your usage of anything on the internet is going in there by default. So the reason that we like to use encryption where we can is because that means the data that they're capturing is encrypted, and then it raises the bar in terms of the resources that they have to spend and use to try to decrypt that data one way or another. There's a whole range of methods by which they can do that, and in some cases they can't do that. We know that some encrypted programs they cannot yet penetrate. Usually they go through your endpoint. I don't really want to go down the technical path because it's for another discussion. We've talked about it repeatedly in the past, but everybody is a target. Everybody. Civilians, citizens like me, single mums in the suburbs can be targets. This is not just about terrorism at all. They use terrorism funding and resources to do it, but they are capturing, the NSA said they want to know it all. They want to know it all. They want all the data on every human being on this planet. We know, if you followed the anti-spy bill series that I did with Internet Party last year, you know that through Google Classroom, they're now capturing the data of 5-year-olds, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds in school, their emails, their web searches, their calendars. The NSA knows that your kid went to soccer on a Tuesday or a Thursday at 5 p.m. They know which other students in your kid's class also went to soccer with them. They know what the assignments were that the teachers gave your elementary school kids. They know what your kids wrote on their little classroom computers and their little essays and their projects. When I was in primary school, they said pick a country to write about. I wrote about Afghanistan because I thought the name sounded like an Afghan cookie. And so I picked Afghanistan. In this day and age, the NSA will know that your child wrote about Afghanistan when they could have had the choice of country to write about. This is how fucked up it is. They are now targeting minors. Like minors with an O, not an E. They are now targeting children. They are harvesting the data of children. The schools all the way through elementary, middle school, high school, university, data mining our entire education, our social enterprises, our relationships. They ingest in Google Classroom, they ingest the enrollment records. They know which kids are in which classrooms and have which teacher. If they have an issue with a teacher at any point, they can go back and see every single student of that teacher, retrospectively. And they will hold this data forever. In 20 or 40 or 60 years' time, they will know which school you went to, which class you're in, who your teacher was, what other kids went to school with you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is how pervasive the surveillance society is now. It is everywhere. So understand, it's your mobile phone, it's your computer, it's your workplace, it's your place of education, your school. It is absolutely everywhere. It is this camera on the street when you walk down the street. It is the card that you swipe to get on the bus. It is absolutely every single facet of human society is under surveillance. It's all being captured by these agencies. And what we see in these files is that they develop programs for military use and then they roll them out against the civilians. So that's what we we're talking about before with traffic thief and Iraq and the targeting programs that they're using for the capture kill operations. They're openly saying, hey, let's roll this out globally. Global is the word that you hear again and again and again in these documents. Global network, global enterprise, extended enterprise. They are creating a massive spying conglomerate across all of their partner countries and partner agencies. And that's why any country that won't get on board with that, they go after to destroy. That's why they hate Russia, they hate Iran, and they hate China, because these are the final frontier. These are the last countries who will not subjugate themselves and their civilian populations and their spy agency and their networks and systems and hardware. They will not subjugate themselves to, we call it the Five Eyes, but it's now like the 100 Eyes. Literally 100 countries are in bed with these guys. This is what globalism really is. It's not just economic, it's not just corporate. Globalism is they are trying to create a central control network, a central surveillance network for every human being on this planet. All that geospatial mapping stuff that we were just talking about before, this is them physically wanting to map every single location on the planet. Like we had Google cars running around taking photos of every single house and every single street and every single suburb and every single, industrial zone, commercial zone. They want that level of mapping for the entire planet. They do not want one shanty town or shack on this planet that they have not mapped, that they can't view by satellite. They want every single phone, access to every single phone and computer on this planet. They want to capture and keep all of that data from the entire planet. So yes, this is used against civilians. And then you tie in the drones. We had drones in 1 country, in 3 countries, in 5 countries, in 7 countries, in 9 countries. You would have to be blind to not understand that they eventually will roll out drones on our soil. They're already doing it at the borders under the guise of border control. They're already doing it with the flyover surveillance blimps, and the Snowden has talked repeatedly about the flyover surveillance of the FBI on US soil. The day will come where weaponized drones are deployed. I mean, we've seen now they're deploying drones at protests. They're now equipping drones with pepper spray and with crowd control devices. The day will come where the same weaponized drones that we have basically sat by and watched terrorize 9 countries simultaneously worldwide, the day will come where that, if we don't stop it, where that is rolled out around the world, where you don't have a police officer that arrives at your incident, you have a weaponized drone that arrives at your incident. Like we saw the robot blow up, like the bomb robots or whatever, blow up that guy who shot the cops in Texas or something last year. Eventually that won't be between the robots and the drones, they actually won't need the police. It'll be some people in a data center somewhere. And this is the very dystopian future. You're muted, by the way, Elizabeth. This is the very dystopian future that we're heading towards really, really quickly.
I was typing earlier and I didn't want the typing to interrupt you, but artificial intelligence is also a part of that dystopian picture, because now they're using artificial intelligence to analyze the footage from weaponized drones in the quote fight against ISIS. But eventually, like you're saying, you're going to see the artificial intelligence being used in these situations. So it's not even a guy in an analysis center, it's artificial intelligence analyzing this footage. So anyway, but it's really, really not good at all. And imagine if somebody makes it, if some mistake is made in that analysis, what does that lead to with weaponized drones? So
totally. Any other questions? Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to say, guys. Sorry. And just so that you can be aware too of New Zealand, I've just put a link for you guys into chat. This is a tweet I sent earlier on. It's an interview that I did back in 2014. I was interviewing the ex-co-leader of the New Zealand Green Party about how in New Zealand a law was passed. There's been a series of surveillance laws passed, but one in particular was passed to allow the police agencies to and the spy agencies to covertly place cameras inside our domestic dwellings without a warrant. So they don't even need to get a warrant anymore. They can just decide that they want to know what's going on inside your house and stick a camera in it and watch you. And they can take that footage, anything that they see on that footage, and use it to apply for a warrant. So it is, and this is something I talked about in my documentary, Diary of a Person of Interest. It's something I've talked about on a number of occasions. And when I have raised this point with people, they generally are just like, no, that can't be the case. Like, that's too Orwellian. It is the case. It's been happening for years. And I can also tell you that it's a whole range of government agencies now that are doing that, even like customs and fisheries and a whole bunch of government agencies, social economic development, a bunch of them. They were doing that for years prior to them passing the bill. The bill was passed to basically legalize what they're doing. And this is something, a pattern that we see again and again, which is where the spy agencies decide they want to do something, they go ahead and do it. Eventually it becomes an issue, so they pass a bill saying that they can do it. They create a law to legalize what they're already doing anyway. So this is a big part of their giant scam, is that they'll just do it for as long as they can get away with it, and then they will turn around and legislate it, legalize it after the fact.
Yeah, Susie, we just had a massive, as you were saying that, you had a massive round of audio interference for a number of seconds as you were describing that issue. It wasn't quite the robot voice, but it was pretty close.
Wow, how interesting.
Like really bad all of a sudden. Fly heard it too, so.
Wow, how interesting.
Need to rant more about that topic, obviously.
Yeah, YouTube isn't the friendliest platform in the world for us to be having this conversation, unfortunately. Hang on, I'll put my headset in again, maybe that will help.
Yeah, it's gone now. It was just very random for a second. There are only 2 times I've heard that sound, and the first time was when everybody reported the robot voice, and then this one. So after all those months, it's not very often that happens. But
it actually happens to me a lot in my audio interviews, my radio interviews. That kind of interference, or my, like when I'm on a phone doing an interview, like it'll just get cut off again and again and again or whatever. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to answer Bullshit Hero about the synopses of the findings of DecipherYou. So I'm just going to screen share really quickly.
Yeah, awesome. And I will go grab a drink myself.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, awesome.
I was just going to show you on DecipherYou. So on DecipherYou for each batch, I haven't done the batch 4 yet. I've actually got all the notes sitting here ready to go. But each time we complete a batch, I go through and I put the findings, just like really, really short versions, like literally 2 sentences and a link to the document. And they're just listed like this. So if you're wanting to make memes, or if you're wanting to, recap, take Fly's video recaps or whatever, this would be your best thing to use as a basis. So it's basically just a list and with the document links to each finding. So that's probably like a really good start. Then what Elizabeth does is Elizabeth actually goes through and does a long form article, like a proper reporting article on disobedient media. And that's more of a narrative form. I think her last one was like hidden secrets of the Snowden files or something. I can probably look it up for you. And that's where she takes all of the findings from the batch and then turns them into something really cool. Yeah, here we go. I've got it. Here it is, Hidden Secrets of the Snowden Files. She's quoting me, I call the Snowden Files the gift that keeps on giving, and with good reason. And then she goes through and presents, and she's even linked in, she's embedded some of the DecipherYou clips and videos. But she goes right through and she's linked to like, a dozen or more different findings here from each of the videos. And she's embedded tweets as well. So I'll copy this and I'll stick this in chat for you guys because it's a really awesome resource. So you have the short list of findings on DecipherYou.com. You have the long narrative write-ups from Elizabeth on Disobedient Media. You've got the short video clips on Fly's channel, and you've got the full episodes on my channel, on my YouTube channel, which we're on right now. So what we're definitely missing, like having people who are able to turn that into like a really punchy online format, like the memes, or a recap, like a recap video of all of the findings. That would be very, very, very cool to do. If you can help us to do that, that would be great. It would be wonderful to have like a 5 or 10 minute video that recaps the entire DecipherYou series findings to date, just like number 1, blah, 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 number 2, blah, blah, blah. That would be fantastic. But I really suck at video editing in a very big way and at producing video. And it's not Elizabeth's forte either. So we definitely need someone who's good at that, who can help us to do it. We're lucky enough to have Somerset Bean, who's done the graphics that you see for DecipherYou. He's also did the graphics for my Being Julian Assange article and the Q&A event with Kim.com. So we do have some support in terms of graphics, but we definitely need some support with videos, cutting videos. Okay, do you guys have any other questions for me?
Also, I am back.
Cool.
I'm here with you all once again. I just heard the tail end of that. It was really a good point about us not having video editing skills. But as I said earlier, and as I linked into the description, into the chat, we do have that Reddit, which will give you a lot of different clips that Fly's put together of different subjects, which will help you get started if you're trying to make a compilation video. And I use that sub all the time when I'm trying to get back to Fly's specific videos of different findings.
Okay, we have 2 more documents. So let's go ahead and just read through them. And then I think we can wrap it and I can get some sleep.
Yeah.
Which would be really cool.
Yeah, and for anyone who hasn't been with us on DecipherYou before, Suzie, every single night that we do DecipherYou, it's like four times a month, twice a week, or 8 times a month, sorry. But she gets up at like what, 2, 3 a.m. your time, and stays up until like.
I've just stayed up recently. I've just stayed up.
Yeah, but I mean, it's very, very bad timing for Suzie. So she puts a lot of not just the time in DecipherYou, but the effort to get up that early or stay up that early and lose sleep. So yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and do these docs.
Okay, so this one is titled Intelligence Need Released to Third Parties, and it's subtitled Intelligence Needs for Iraqi Elections was the first ever to be released to third parties. And then that paragraph is secret, and it says the NSA recently set a precedent when it sanitized and released an intelligence need to third-party partners on the January elections in Iraq. On the 4th of January, the intelligence need was released to second and third-party partners of the SIGINT Seniors CT coalition, soliciting their assistance in monitoring and the important and volatile event. And then it says that SIGINT comprises partners from Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Sweden, the UK, and the US. By 18th of January, Italy produced a lengthy assessment in response to the information needs. Other nations have pledged to remain watchful and share with us any information responding to the essential elements of information in the information needs. So given this immediacy of the need, FAD's forward deployed personnel facilitated collaboration between elements in SID's customer relationships and analysis and production S2 directorates. So Customer Gateway also coordinated with the originator of the information needs, US CENTCOM, to ensure that its equities were protected. So pretty short document. And then it looks like Susie didn't think there's anything interesting there. So we're moving right on to changes underway at DOJ, which is subtitled Justice Department now sees countering terrorism as their top duty. Interaction with the NSA is changing. So just like the rest of the world, after the 11th of September 2001, the Department of Justice also changed. Then Attorney General John Ashcroft issued a memorandum that shifted the department's primary focus from investigating and prosecuting past crimes to identifying threats of future terrorist acts, preventing them from happening, and punishing would-be perpetrators for their plans of terror. In other words, the emphasis shifted from prosecution to prevention. The Attorney General's memo highlighted three major areas that underpin these efforts to disrupt and prevent terrorist acts: information sharing, information analysis, and coordination. This sounds familiar, right? These are areas either complement or mirror many of what our own NSA CSS Transformation 2.0 activities look like. So Attorney General preference also guides the type of support given to DOJ by the SID external representative or SID rep. For example, Janet Reno preferred delivery of a daily SIGINT briefing book, but John Ashcroft did not. With the confirmation of a new Attorney General, the DOJ intelligence support preference and tasking to the SID rep may soon change again. And then it's a secret paragraph, and it says, as you would expect, functions of the SID rep at DOJ located in the Office of Intelligence Policy and Review, OIPR, have evolved to meet this challenging customer focus. How? By moving from traditional SIGINT intelligence analyst primary functions such as retrieving, reviewing, and distributing daily SIGINT products to a more representational role that is a combination of ombudsman, problem solver, and facilitator. For example, the SID rep is the connectivity point in OIPR for both the NSA Office of General Counsel and the Counterterrorism FISA team. Interesting. So then it has a paragraph that's titled in bold but unclassified, IT changes, faster delivery of SIGINT products and services. And it's a secret paragraph. And it says technology changes and better IT connectivity are giving DOJ a measure of SIGINT self-sufficiency. OIPR has had the ability for some time to pull NSA SIGINT product, thus other intelligence community daily reports via JWIX and Interlink. Now DOJ Criminal Division is exploring similar capabilities, with JWIX about to go operational in the counterterrorism section, and other CRM sections may come online in the future. These changes give DOJ the ability to quickly tailor SIGINT requests to particular section interests or to meet ad hoc requirements or crises. And it's unclassified. It says the true constant during all these changes, customer sets, mission focus, and leadership is the delivery of NSA SIGINT support for DOJ through the SID rep and account manager partner in customer gateway. And now the editorial, the secret stuff, location, location, location. I wouldn't want this secret to get around, but DC is an awesome place to work, and the DOJ location is outstanding, a blah, 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 starting point for exploration. I can walk out of the Constitution Avenue exit, cross the street, and walk directly to the Smithsonian National History Museum. The end of the same block is home to a wildflower and butterfly garden with shady benches for a spring lunchtime respite. Cross the street from the butterfly garden and you enter the National Gallery of Art Sculpture Garden. Don't groan. Some of the sculptures are actually fun, and the park is beautiful. The sculpture garden is a huge water fountain that becomes an ice rink during winter. All this is less than 3 minutes from DOJ's front door. As I say, there are many more stories in the city, but those will have to wait for another day. One more thing. When I come to work every morning, I get a brief glimpse of what's it all about as the Orange Line Metro rounds the bend from Minnesota Avenue, especially this time of year when the sun is just over the horizon. Both the US Capitol and the Washington Monument briefly appear gleaming in the sunlight. And that looks like the end of that article, I think. Unless there's
oh my God.
That ending, that was really something. I mean.
And the water from the reflecting pool was sparkling.
Yeah. I mean, I had to read it with like a lot of sarcasm because I just couldn't get through it any other way, but.
Interesting. Janet Reno preferred delivery of a daily SIGINT briefing book that's like the president receives in his gold embossed folder. Remember that it's like driven by a limousine to the White House. There was a document that talked about the process by which the intelligence is delivered to the president every day.
Very interesting.
Okay, so the most interesting thing for me was that we now know Department of Justice is in fact an NSA customer. we know that the information needs for the Department of Justice are being managed by a NSA rep who is on site at the DOJ. And where is that? This is the SID rep. The SID rep. And this is some scary shit.
Yeah, I know. I that was really, really interesting to me when I read through that. It doesn't seem like that should be legal for them to be trying to prevent crimes. But and to punish perpetrators. Like, I understand what they're trying to describe there, but it still doesn't sound legal to punish people who haven't done anything. Yeah, Minority Report. That's
literally what I'm about to tweet.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what came into my mind as I read it. Absolutely. Future crime, precog, all of those apply very well. Yeah, that's a great point. So DecipherYou, it says, or they've hashtag DecipherYou and said preemptive war doctrine is 17 years old already. God, that is scary. It's so true.
This whole like discovery, oops, where am I? The whole discovery of like NSA customers and understanding that the customers' information need requests are what is actually driving the NSA. So the NSA is the eye of Sauron, but who decides what they want to look at in the eye of Sauron is the customers. The customers send those directions to the NSA through what's called an information needs portal. This NSA rep who's on site full-time at the DOJ. There's also reps on site at the CIA, the FBI, and a whole bunch of other agencies. They're the ones who are actually sitting there and typing into the Eye of Sauron instruction portal what it is that they want to know. I think that's extremely significant to understand.
Absolutely.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. I want to see the information needs requests. I want to see what type of requests are made, how they are worded, what is in them, what it is that they're ordering the NSA to give them. We know that the NSA began database reporting, which means instead of giving specific pieces of information in response to requests, they've started handing over entire databases of information to their customers. I would like to see the information needs requests, and I would like to see the reporting that goes back to fulfill those requests from the NSA. That's on my wish list of Snowden files. Okay, I think we'll wrap that there for tonight. Do you guys have any other questions? If there's anything else you want to ask us, you've got about 2 minutes.
It's been such a great evening with you all. We've got 50 people with us, and I'm so happy that you've joined us. And thank you, everybody who's new. I hope you come back again, because this is a really great, learning experience for me, and as Suzie said, for her as well, and I hope for all of you. So I'll be happy to see you all back again sometime.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Really, really, really cool. And I can't wait to see what's in the rest of these. So I will try and do the good thing and do the write-up of all the batch 4 findings and get it up onto DecipherYou this week.
Absolutely.
Because there is a whole bunch of stuff that we've discovered, which I haven't written up yet. And then once I've done that list, I can ask Elizabeth to do a Hidden Secrets of the Snowden Files Part 2.
Yeah. Definitely. I've been really looking forward to writing up a long form of some of the really big findings from batch 4, because there was a lot of really important information there. So
bullshit, man. Hope says give Suzie what she wants. Yes, please, please, gods of the Snowden documents, give me what I want. It's for the benefit of everyone. Okay, so Bullshit Man has said he's just found out that I'm living in exile in Russia, and wants a quick explanation of why. Basically, I was targeted in New Zealand by domestic agencies and then by international agencies. The targeting started off with break-ins and horrible, nasty things happening to me, sabotage of my belongings, my property, my relationships, my career, etc., etc., etc. It got so bad that during the 2014 election, when I was covering when Snowden was appearing in New Zealand with Kim.com, Julian Assange, and others, that there were several attempts on my life. So I'd been involved in a number of big New Zealand movements. One of those movements that I was heavily involved in was a direct effort against the GCSB, the spy agency in New Zealand, and they retaliated by trying to take me out of the equation. Fortunately for me, it didn't work, but it was made clear to me that if I didn't get the hell out of New Zealand, that I was not going to live to see another day. So I basically heeded the advice and left. I went to Berlin and had a great community, tech community there. However, I continued to be aggressively targeted while I lived in Berlin. There was horrific tactics being used against me. I'm a single mum with 2 kids. It was affecting my children as well. And it was just, we were simply not safe in Germany. I moved into Eastern Europe from Germany, and as soon as I got out of the sphere of the NATO countries, the targeting stopped. I'm still targeted online and still obviously monitored and whatnot, but I have been physically okay since I've been in Russia and in Eastern European countries. So that's why I'm in Russia. It's not like for any ideological reason. It's actually just purely because the countries that have not yet been subjugated by this global mafia of the intelligence agencies are the last place where people like me who have taken serious stands and really committed our lives to taking a stand against the egregious spying, it's really the last place that we can be safe. And, I mean, still, maybe I won't be safe in Russia, I don't know, but I've been able to live more normally here and more peacefully here than I was able to in any of the countries. After I left New Zealand, I bunny hopped my way across the world, and I literally had teams of agents trailing me across every country I went through. So my only hope at having a semi-normal existence was to get out of the NATO sphere. So yeah, that's the short version on why I'm currently living in exile. Basically, my country is a playground for the Five Eyes spies. International agencies and private for-profit agencies operate with total impunity in New Zealand. The police services completely not only failed to protect me, but openly told me to my face that as long as I was involved in activism, that's what was going to happen to me. If you can't get protection from the state that you live in, then you have to go to another state. There's basically no choice. Yeah, I hope it is, thank God for Russia, but then sure enough, they're targeting Russia too now. Thank you, Shining Star, that's really kind. Thank you. Frosty buckets, that's true to a certain extent, that a high profile gives you better visibility and visibility gives you some protection, but never forget that Michael Hastings, who East Slider just mentioned, was speaking to 2 million people, 5 million people at a time on CNN and MSNBC, and he was blown up, on a Los Angeles boulevard. So while being high visibility gives you some protection, they do not want you to speak to audiences that large. That puts you on the shit list very, very fast. The scariest factor for me is that if you're a Western journalist and you are killed, practically nobody will admit it. Reporters Without Borders and all of these press freedom agencies will not advocate for you. you will not even be acknowledged as having been killed for your work. I mean, the case of Michael Hastings is a great example of that. So is the case of Serena Shim. These are both journalists who were killed for the work that they were doing, but who the press freedom organizations want to pretend didn't exist. You know, I've often said, like, if a Russian journalist is killed in Russia, then they are celebrated across the West. They are remembered for decades to come. They are given every posthumous award imaginable and recognition imaginable. If a Western dissident journalist is killed, it was a suicide, it's an overdose, it's a car accident, and nothing more is ever to be said about them. That's just how it is. We become non-people. They turn us into non-people, and they deny the significance of our work. So that's just the catch-22. If you're from a country that they don't like and you're killed for your work, then you know you'll be on the front page of the New York Times. And if you're from America or a Western country and you're a dissident journalist, they will pretend that you never existed, no matter what happens to you. It's just a sad fact. Thank you, Shelley. Totalitarian TV, you're spot on about Gary Webb. Exactly.
Absolutely. That is the perfect prime example of that, of what Suzie's speaking about, for sure. Yeah, well.
Hope says it won't happen to me. I can never say what will or won't happen to me. Nobody knows what will happen to them. What I can tell you is that I was highly motivated by Michael Hastings' murder. And I'm highly motivated by Serena Shim's murder. And I have faith in two things. One is that if I am killed for my work, that it will piss off a lot of people. And not only will it piss them off, but it will motivate them to pick up that torch and run with it. Definitely, I know that for a fact. There are many people in my life who would be massively incensed and massively motivated if something was to happen to me. The second thing is that the best way, I put a tweet out about this, and about Marielle Franco in Brazil, the activist and Rio de Janeiro city councillor who was assassinated earlier this month. I put out a tweet that said, if someone gives their life for their work, the best homage that you can pay them is to continue that work. And now we see that as a result of her assassination, massive light is being shed on extrajudicial police killings in Brazil. So when they do kill a journalist or an advocate or an activist, or, you know, when they assassinate anyone of note about any issue, invariably they end up bringing a ton more attention onto that issue. So there you go. If anything ever does happen to me, I want you guys to study every single other freaking Snowden document and tell everybody about it and share all my videos. Pick up where I left off. Okay, guys, we're going to leave it. I'm going to go and get some sleep. We'll be back in 3 days' time to do this all over again, and hope that you will join us. So thank you so much. If you want to donate, we have a Patreon somewhere. Maybe someone will put the link.
We do have a Patreon page.
We're really terrible at asking for donations. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but we go through like 3 or 4 hour episodes and forget to actually say, by the way, you can donate if you want to. There are ways that you can support us. What I would really like is just if you like tweet out quotes from the episodes, tweet out the links to the episodes, go through my channel, check out other past episodes, catch up with anything that you've missed previously. And just, I hope that you find value in what we're doing. I really do. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. And we will see you on Friday night US time, or God knows what time of the morning, Saturday Moscow time, or Saturday afternoon for Aussies and New Zealanders. Okay, as we say, New Zealand ka kite anoa, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
No night.